All right, so let's talk. Tell me about what you eat again.
So my meals in a day usually start off with eggs. I usually do five organic or free range eggs, sometimes six. Um, Depends what I'm doing at the moment in terms of like cutting things out, adding things in. I might add a bit of cheese to that, or I might
Hmm.
add some maybe even a beef burger sometimes, or some a beef sausage like that. You know, that's usually about 7:30, 8 o'clock. My next meal's at about 11 usually, and that is nearly at the moment always beef mince with some butter, maybe an egg. Next meal at the moment the same. Next meal near enough the same. And the final meal is usually some oily fish like mackerel with some eggs, maybe with like a
Mm.
little beef burger or something. So I'm eating essentially beef, eggs, mackerel, and I'm eating probably just over 300 grams of butter a day at the moment. So
Wow, 300 grams
yeah,
of butter.
yeah, I'm heavily stocked in the butter department.
That's kind of one of my go-to fats too. And a lot of people use tallow or lard or duck fat or whatever. And the rendered fats I just noticed didn't digest as well.
Mm.
And but butter always seems fine. So yeah, I'm down with the butter. I don't eat a lot of it. And the same thing with cheese, add a little cheese, but it's not really a food group. It's it's a very small part of my diet, but I do enjoy the cheese on the meat too.
Get that? Yeah, I guess it's fair to say that our food pyramid is essentially like meat, maybe eggs, at the
Mhm.
top like cheese, seafood, maybe. I mean, you have it every day. I wanted to ask you as well about that. So you have a lot of seafood in your diet, or you have an amount of it at least. For is it shrimp?
Mhm.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask basically for your like diet journey. You've been doing it quite a few years now, so you can give a good perspective on it. And you've tried different things probably and worked out what doesn't work. So, what are you finding are the biggest impacts in your diet at the moment? So, is it that you're eating more beef rather than chicken, or more shrimp rather than eggs, or what are all the differences?
Well, it became clear that, beef eating the vast majority of my meals from beef was optimal for me. It would probably be the same if I was eating goat or sheep or something like that, some kind of lamb, but they tend to be hard to get and expensive.
Mm,
Unless I want to I could walk down the street and buy the whole animal. But if I go to the store, it's imported, and it's
mm,
expensive. Um, and then I noticed, I like chicken okay, especially like a rotisserie chicken, but um, they it wasn't as sustaining, you know. I have to eat a lot of damn chicken to get anywhere. So, and I prefer the beef. I mean, most of it's like personal preference. With the things I like to eat, will they do the job? And yeah, so from there I just kind of looked at it like how much fat versus how much protein do I need, and I
mm,
gradually drifted into higher protein, sometimes when you're eating really high protein, really lean meat, you do have to add a little fat in. And for me, it's either, if I'm cooking, it's butter. If I'm not cooking, I use like cream cheese or sour cream, and that's
mm,
mostly because I like them and they're convenient. I can take them with me. I could buy it in bulk and have it in the fridge. Those are because I try to only go to the store like once a week if I can, maybe twice, because I'm busy and I'm usually got to time that in between work and getting home or the gym or whatever.
mm,
So yeah, so I know a lot of people that like, don't do dairy, and cream cheese doesn't, they look at it like processed dirty
mm.
food or whatever, but I don't notice any negative, and like it's not a major part of my diet. It's like the cheese or anything else.
This is like an add-on. Yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes I notice like, oh, I haven't been eating enough fat. I can tell, and so I add that in. So, and the eggs are has been kind of up and down. I've been trying to figure out what the right amount is, and it's easy for me to drink, like raw eggs. I like to just put them in a cup and break them up, so they're
Mm,
consistent. Sometimes I add a little water or something to thin it down. But cooking them, a lot of times I just don't have time except on the weekends, so I do like scrambled eggs. I'll throw bacon
mm,
or pastrami or whatever in there,
mm.
little cheese. So
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like me. Like like to sort of mix it up a little bit. And people say there's not much variety in a carnivore diet, but like, how many types of cheeses are there? How many types of meat are there?
Hmm.
It's not just chicken eggs. You get duck eggs, quail eggs, bantam eggs, geese eggs. There's probably a lot more I've not come up with. Ostrich eggs. I don't know whatever people can get nowadays. But yeah, I mean, I think I'm always quite skeptical whenever anyone online says I've been eating two ribeyes a day for the last 5 years. I'm like, so you're telling me your body's been exactly the same for the last 5 years, and your body has needed exactly that much every single day for the last 5 years? Doubt it. And
Yeah.
I think that's where the intuitiveness of the carnivore diet comes along. So you'll intuitively have more eggs or more shrimp, or your body will tell you. So I think that's very intelligent.
Yeah, I think what happens is most people when they start, they do really well on higher fat, and then actually once they can absorb all that fat, they're like feeling great. They're healing up, they're getting better. But and I think they expect to stay there. But I think it's quite clear that we're as everything's healing up, your body's always adapting to what's going on, right? And in a lot of ways it becomes more efficient. And so I'm thinking what happens is a lot of people actually need more protein and less fat, at least in a ratio form, as time goes on, because they're absorbing more fat, they're utilizing more fat,
Mm,
and then they're not wasting as much of it. And then as they heal up and they become more efficient, the diet needs to change a little bit. And so I think a lot of people are kind of protein deficient, and part of that might be because so many people came from keto. It's all fat, it's moderate protein, very low carbohydrate, and in their minds they think, oh, if I eat too much meat, my glucose is going to spike and my insulin's going to go
mm,
up and blah blah blah. But when you exercise regularly, that's part of the process, right? People are shocked sometimes when I tell them, like, no, your glucose is gonna go up while you're recovering. you know you're gonna expended all that glycogen in your muscles, and
mm,
then part of the process of restocking that fuel and keeping it on board close to the cells is generating glucose as part of that process, right? So
mm,
a lot of people don't realize that. And then I think too, because people heal up and feel better, they're more active, right? So the amount of water you eat, the amount of protein you need, the amount of fat you need is going to
mm.
change over time, right? And I know I'm way more active now. I'm 51. How old are you?
I'm 27,
Ah, wow. So like, yeah, I'm almost twice as old as you are.
baby.
Yeah. So I think there's that mindset of, well, I'm this age and blah 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 blah, and there's that all that stuff that's been ingrained in us over time. It's like people your age do this or do that. And so I think we're kind of always fighting all those little ideas that have been planted in us over time. And we don't realize, because weightlifting is all about your body adapting to lifting weights, right? Otherwise, you wouldn't grow any muscles, right? And the same thing happens with your diet. And like I said, I think people just do more. They have more energy, right? They have more energy available, so they expend more energy, so they need more energy, or they use their muscles more, so their muscles are getting bigger, so they need more protein to keep growing, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, most people that are coming into this diet are coming into this diet not as like let's just sorry, let's just try out a carnivore diet, see what happens. They're
Yeah.
coming to it because they have to come to it because
Yeah.
they've tried all other options, the medication, healthcare system, the diet, whatever doing it before, keto, vegan, plant, whatever it is, has just stopped working or doesn't work or didn't work. So they've had to fall to this diet. So when they're transforming from whatever they're doing before to this, they're noticing, right, my body's needing more of this or that. And the idea that we always have to have a high fat diet is a bit preposterous, to be honest. And they're starting these diets with messed up blood glucose levels. So they're thinking, right, I'm just going to eat like two chicken breasts a day and some eggs. It's not going to be enough. Like you're giving your body literally maybe 30 grams of fat.
Yeah.
I don't think there's much indication for anyone to be eating anything less than maybe 100 grams of fat. Obviously, it depends on your body weight and all that sort of thing. But and the thing is as well, like I had an interview with Bart K, I think a couple of days ago, and
Mm.
it'll probably air before the time that this one comes out. But he basically said the majority of people that I consult with and coach fall into a diet which consists of around 66% fat and 33% protein. So essentially, uh, low grade ketosis macros. The 1% being trace carbs from whatever, I imagine. So when I listen to that and I think, yeah, it probably is that. I mean, there is probably some suggestion that some people do better on maybe 70%, 72%, 75%, whatever, fat and less protein. There's also suggestion to say that some people like us might require higher amounts of protein. So what stage I'm at the moment is that I'm experimenting with different ratios for a fair amount of time, a few weeks, to see what happens. So I can actually say
Yeah.
from experience, this is what happened to me as an
Mhm.
autistic person on a carnivore diet that does bodybuilding. So that might relate to one other person, but at least I've got
Right.
my own experience and you know,
Well, and people get hung up in the gender thing too. It's like, oh, women eat more fat or blah blah blah, and that might be the case to some degree. More people, if you're just spending fuel most of the day and you're not really working out or whatever, you maybe you're just the ratio is going to lean towards fat. But then when you're active and you're using a lot of muscle, and it tends to tilt the other way. And I know some girls that are, your age that lift and they have high protein demands, right? So I'm a
mm,
little skeptical of the gender differences, I mean, obviously there's a different hormone profile and all that, but we basically all make our hormones out of cholesterol anyways, right? So if you got the right stuff on board, you're going to make the same. And of course, girls typically can't put on as much muscle as guys. They're just, they're engineered that way. But when you take people that lift every day, it doesn't matter if they're a guy or girl, I'm pretty sure they're going to need more protein, right? It doesn't matter what your
yeah,
gender is. It doesn't matter that you're not quite as big as a guy. That
mm,
ratio of what you need is still going to be there. And I think people make that mistake. They get it in their head, well, I'm a guy or I'm a girl. I need more of this. I need more of that. And they're not really looking at what their body's telling them.
that's, that's perfect. Yeah, like you've got some really key points in this video, which I think will really sort of alert people. Just because you see someone promoting a high fat or high protein version of the diet doesn't mean, oh, I'm missing something here. Maybe I need to try that. See where you're at now. And, I've got a friend, Alicia. She's in a recent interview that I did. She's quite muscular. She's like a bodybuilder, female, she's 5'2". Her protein requirements is a lot more than most male person.
See,
She,
perfect example.
exactly. She's taking at least 200 grams of protein a day, and she's 5'2".
Yeah.
And people say, it's too much. It's like you don't know how active she is. You don't know what diet she's doing, like
Yeah.
diet she's doing before. You don't know what she's depleting before. She don't know what
Right.
training she's doing right now. I mean, if she's doing, I don't know, German volume training, 7 days a week, I don't think she is. But if she was, if she
She's an
was,
animal, right?
you're gonna run into issues. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, and you do run into the CrossFitters and stuff that are utterly obsessed with working out every day and they hit it hard. And it's not just lifting, they're sprinting, they're, going, I gotta run a mile around the box before they get back in here and lift some more, It's like,
well, the injury rate is for them.
yeah. Yeah, I
What
mean
is
that's
it?
the thing. They're always their body wants to be more efficient so they can run and sprint, and then at the same time they're demanding it to put more muscle on. And so they're
Mm,
fighting that adaptation, right? One's trying to get lighter and faster, and the other one's trying to get bulkier and stronger, and that's a
yeah.
tough game.
Bart, Bart always says that when I speak to him. He's like, the problem with I have a lot of people is they want to achieve lots of things at once, but you've got to find your specific goal, and your diet and training has to match what you want to reach for that goal, and it flows from that. So, for example, if you're someone that wants to, an average person wants to bulk up and lose fat and get ripped, well, probably probably the easiest thing to do first is bulk up. At least try and gain muscle.
Right.
When you lose fat, it's going to be a bit easier, and you're going to have the muscles already there. So you're not fighting against yourself at
Right.
a lower body weight to then try and increase muscle. So, you got to approach things from different angles at different times and pick a goal and just stick to it. I mean, what are your goals at the moment in terms of your training? Is it strength based or
Yeah, it's
hypertrophy?
primarily strength based. Every once in a while, somebody's like, "Come on, man, do a little more hypertrophy. Get those muscles to pop, man. You're gonna look amazing when you got more definition." And I'm like, and I'll do it for a while, and I do get some results, and then I'm not as strong as I was 3 weeks ago, so I go back to strength training, right? Because I'm like, in the back of my mind, it's like I'm always like, I wonder how far I'll get. How much will I be? What will my deadlift be? What will my squat be? That's the engine in the back. And I do little divergence, and then realize that posterior chain is just not as strong, no matter how many muscles I get to pop. It's like
Mm.
the core compound movements are basically the thing that does that. And you get busy doing all these specialty exercises to get some muscle to pop here or there, then that suffers. so so then I drift
Mm.
back to just strength training. But I enjoy it, and it does make it more interesting because you're doing these little side experiments to see if I can get, yeah, can I get that extra muscle on my calf, to pop out or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, we're at a training age. I mean, I imagine you've been training for quite a bit longer than me, but we kind of know what does and doesn't work. And if we're doing something completely wrong for, in my case, 14 years, the thing is, I've been enjoying what I've been doing for 14 years. I'm very unlikely to change it. So when someone says to me, Jonathan, why don't you try reducing your weight or increasing your weight or whatever it is, or try drop sets or try anything different? Right.
Mm.
I've been doing this for a long time and I have tried everything. I mean, you type in training program into Google, I've tried probably everything on that for the first 10 pages.
Yeah, that's how you learn, man. you know
Mm.
And you're right. It comes but down to what it is that really drives you and that you enjoy. What's the concentrated sort of curiosity or goal that keeps you going back, right? And then you're always going to go back to that, right?
Yeah, I
So
think
let
we're
me ask
addicts.
you. Let's talk about the F word. How do you feel about fasting?
Mm. I think, right. So I spoke to the Steak and Butter gang coaches, Adek and Raymond recently.
Mm,
Their concept of fasting, they said so themselves, isn't really fasting. So what it is I believe that people with very specific health problems should attempt to fast if it is necessary to them. I'm not saying many people should do it. I think the idea of fasting and doing 3 day fasts, it's possible and it's useful for some people, but not everyone. Um,
mm,
it depends what their goal is. But I mean, people doing the priming, like feasting, fasting sort of thing, they are feasting and they're still full for the next 2 days because they've eaten that much when they have eaten. So technically, they're not actually fasting. You see what I
uh,
mean?
right, right.
So it's a way of eating, and I mean, it might free up some more of their time, so it makes their lives more efficient. But you got to enjoy it, and you've got to eat to hunger and make sure you're getting enough in. A lot of us come from places where we started a diet beforehand that was inappropriate for the human species, and we did not consume enough nutrients. So
Hmm.
we are in a deficiency.
Hmm.
So some of us will have to eat more at the beginning in order to stock up reserves and bolster it all
Absolutely.
up, get more on board, as you say. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
what. What do you think?
Yeah. So I did a lot of experimenting with fasting in the beginning. I think I fasted up to like 10 days, basically water fast. Just I was curious when I learned about it, I was like, you can do this? Human beings can go without food for 10 days? And I was like, but I think it's a really powerful lever, but I don't think it works for most people as a lifestyle, right? It's that lever you pull when you're sick or and I think a lot of I love the steak and butter gang. I know Raymond really well. I know Bella fairly well, and I met a lot of those people in that crowd. And like Ray's claim to fame was he got a nice six pack, right?
Mm.
And for something like that, if that's your goal to have a six pack, it probably works pretty good. But for a weightlifter, I don't think it's completely insufficient. I mean, you might do a restart somewhere, or maybe you're sick and you want to get things back on track, then you pull that lever once in a while, maybe. but I haven't fasted now. I haven't even attempted to for over a year, and I don't have a reason to do it again. You know what I mean?
Mm,
So I think it's a powerful tool, but I don't like it as a lifestyle, and it's not, I don't think it's aligned with the things I want to do, like lift, and I don't think, yeah, I mean, GHG and stuff like that will go up and stuff like that, but you get almost the same result from working out as you do from fasting. Like the positive increases in hormone levels and stuff like that.
mm,
It's almost identical. And it's like, well, I'd rather work out than fast. So, and I don't do as well lifting when I fast. Right. And it kind of ripples through for a while. It's not like, oh, just go back to eating and everything's back to normal. So, and I'm a big believer too that, people like myself that have been overweight for decades, I mean, carrying around a lot of extra weight. I'm not talking like a few kilos. I'm, talking like 50 extra kilos or more. You meet
mm,
those people, they've yo-yo dieted through their life, trying to find the right diet, trying to get leaner, trying to get healthier, and their weight went up and down, up and down, up and down. And I think those people in particular are more susceptible to long-term disruptions from things like fasting,
mm,
because the body wants to recover all that extra weight. It thinks that that is a safe place to be. Like, oh, we've got to have extra fuel on board because starvation's, running amok or something like that. And then so the set points for, adipose tissue or body fat tend to be really high in those people. And so you fast them down and it's really hard for them to maintain that leaner position because their body's used to recovering all that body weight and then adding some on for more more safety or something, right? So again, it depends on what your goals are, but I've kind of dismissed it as a lifestyle. I try and draw that line. It's a powerful tool. It's got its place, but it's, for most people, I don't think it has the utility that a lot of people think it does.
mm.
Because I mean,
Yeah.
if you just took that a mammoth and you've got this giant carcass sitting in front of you, why wouldn't you eat? you know,
I'm going to leave that for a few days and get my autophagy up. Then I'm going to go back to it later and start
right?
eating away.
That didn't happen, right? We're pretty sure
No,
they didn't do that. So I mean, we're able to fast because there were times probably when there was no food and we had to go looking for it or whatever. So we tolerate that, but I don't really think it's optimal, right?
no.
It's something we can do, but I think in general it's less than optimal. But you could use it to recover. Fasting has been used to recover from all kinds of things. Digestive issues, colds, and everything, and it works for stuff like that, but not as a lifestyle, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I think the same. Like you can end up depleting yourself. If you're like I said before, if you're doing the feasting fasting thing, you're not depleting yourself because you're eating enough to maintain. Say your food volume is what it would be for 3 days, but in one day, that's fine. It just means on those 2 days you might be a bit hungry. You might not be. I don't know. I've not tried it yet, so but I
Well,
think you get the point. Yeah.
and you notice when people are feasting, like, yeah, you got to keep eating till like you can barely put that last uh, bite of food in your mouth, and you don't even want to look at. And I'm like, uh, I see what you're doing here, but I don't want to do it because I
Yeah.
enjoy eating and I don't want to be stuffed. You know, it's like trying to go and work out when you're stuffed. It's miserable, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you
How,
push your,
how long? How long do you leave between your workout and your meal?
oh, sometimes I'm eating while I walk in the gym, but
Yeah.
I don't. I mean, because I'm busy, right? Or I'm eating in the car on the way to the gym
Mm,
or whatever. But I'm not stuffed, and so it doesn't bother me, right? And
mm.
sometimes I'm eating on the way out. I let my hunger dictate when I eat, right? So, um, like I said in the early days, and I'm throwing down pre-workouts and protein shakes and all this stuff, and I'm miserable at working out in the morning. It's like my stomach's all turned upside down. You know, now I just eat meat whenever I'm hungry, and it never bothers me.
Yeah. I always find everyone says that. Like everyone eats intuitively on this sort of diet. They find you eat what you want, that you desire to your satiety, then everything sort of sorts itself out. Um, and it sounds just like that. I mean, it might be that some days you eat 3 meals, some days 5 meals, some days 2 meals, some days maybe even 1 meal if you're very busy. So
Hmm.
your body will just sort itself out. And like the amount of time I'm spending right now in front of the computer screen making videos and cranking out different topics and interviews people, I'm struggling to find time to put in 4 meals. Isn't I usually do five. At 4 meals though, it's I have to set a reminder on my phone. I'll eat now, or I'll forget. The thing
Yeah.
is, I'm someone that can get carried away with whatever I do. So I'll be the sort of person that's at my computer screen for 2 days and not eat.
Mm.
Um, so I try to stay on track of things because I know what my character's like, my behavior's like. So I get very wrapped up in it all. So yeah.
And I think that's the thing we've been training. It's easy to skip meals. Like,
Mm.
people have all kinds of tricks, like drink a bunch of water and you won't be so hungry, or drink coffee, with cream in it. And then, there's a million tricks, and everybody's thought if you want to get leaner, you got to eat less and move more, right? That's back in the back of somebody's mind. And then when you tell them, well, if I eat as much as I want and I eat 5 times a day, I get leaner faster than if I cut calories, you know? Because I mean, it's easy long term to maybe you're eating 5% less than you're burning or something. That's easy. Like most people can
Mm.
do that because especially when you're eating frequently, you're very comfortable. But to try and cut, I mean, a big day for my biggest day ever, I was probably like 10,000 calories. I
Mm.
don't have time to eat that much food,
It's a
you
job at
know?
that point. North of probably 4,000, 5,000 calories, it is a job.
Yeah, it is. And I'm typically at least 4,500. I mean, when I was sick with COVID, laying in bed, I was at like 3,800 calories a day just laying in bed.
Mm.
So, an active day, it's going to be 5, 6, 7,000 is no big deal, especially you could do 2 workouts in a day, you
That
know?
always adds to it. Like you're someone with a fair bit of muscle mass, so the amount of energy that you're expending when you're working out and just sat there rest, same with me, is way more. I mean, if I went for a right run on the treadmill, I can't, but if I did, then like 1,000 calories within half an hour or whatever it is, it's a ridiculous amount of energy just keep up with.
Yeah. Or just to go, I shop in a really big store, and it's like cruising around throwing meat in my cart. And by the time I get out of there, it's like 6 or 7,000 steps. That
Mm,
was, and that's like all I was doing was shopping, right? All I was doing was buying food. And you add that on top of a couple workouts, and then sometimes at work, most of my time at work, drive a desk, but I might be unloading a truck that's full of steel or something. Or I might
mm.
be loading packing tools, putting them in a truck, taking them to a job site, and then bringing them back or something like that. An occasional day like that, it's going to be 8, 9, 10,000 calories right
Mm.
there, you know.
You can add
And
up. There's all these extra movements you do, and people don't think of that. I mean, when I've worked a full time job where I was in retail, yeah, to keep up with my weight, I'd eat about 6K calories a day, and that was a chore. My digestion wasn't great, and it's almost like
mm,
you have to find the balance and like the amount you're expending and the amount you're eating, then the amount you're sleeping and covering. I tried to link all these things together in my interviews to make people
mm-hmm.
think. Don't just focus on, I need to eat 7,000 calories a day to gain muscle. What's your sleep like? Are you able to sleep with that 7,000 calories or not? No. Okay. Write that idea off. Get your sleep up. Then everything else can follow suit. So I like to get that idea across myself anyway.
Yeah, and that's a common problem in the autistic community is people have very irregular sleeping patterns, or sleeping disorders are very common. That's something that I've dealt with myself and been working on for years. And my quality of sleep is gotten quite high, but I don't spend much time asleep. There's like not much I can do
Mm.
about it, right? But I have blackout curtains. I got it. You know what a chili pad is?
Yeah,
So
it's like a cold mat thing. Yeah.
yeah, I've got that. I wear earplugs. Um, the everything I can think of. I weighted blankets. I found a weighted blanket that's actually full of glass beads, and it
Oh
helps
yeah.
you stay cool. It doesn't trap the heat in, but it gives you that. And I don't know what that is. It's not really just an autistic thing, but some people when they sleep with that weighted blanket, it just is very relaxing. It just helps you fall asleep faster.
I've heard that. And maybe it sort of simulates like a hug or something. I don't know.
It is
Pressure,
very much
maybe.
like that. Yeah, if you watch that movie about Temple Grandin, she's a famous autistic lady and famous in the
Mm.
cattle industry. She built a squeeze chute like they use for the cattle. to flip the cows over and look at their hooves and stuff like that, because she noticed that it relaxed them when they were in this device.
Mm,
And so she used to do that to calm down. So there's something going on there. We kind of understand how what the result is, but not exactly how it works, let's say. So I do all that to try and sleep better. I did my doctor's always giving me some kind of drug or something to take, and I sleep a little more. But I seem that's the thing about carnivore, you seem to recover so fast. I think
mm.
a lot of the data on just how much you can work out and how fast you recover and when you should hit again, your body adapts, and when you've got all the right elements on board, your body just recovers really fast and you're able to work out more, which in
Yeah.
a way is kind of like the point of, the anabolic steroids and stuff is really what they do is help you recover faster, right?
Mm.
So I'd like to think at least that we're moving in that direction just by eating meat, you know.
I think it seems like we're getting a lot closer. And touching on the point you made about sleep, I noticed the stricter I am in terms of having a carnivore diet, as in the closer I get to, meat and water and salt. I've not done that one yet, but it's on the cards maybe for a week or so. But, yeah, I sleep a lot less, but my quality of sleep's much, much better. I mean, I can get what I used to get. I could wake up feeling like I used to feel when I'd get 8 hours, but do that in 5 hours.
Right.
And biggest thing for me in terms of improving sleep quality has been emitting the blue light. So my
Mm,
screen on my phone, between certain hours of the day, it'll go black and white, completely nothing, like no color at all.
uh,
And that's made a really big difference to me. So it might just be that I'm more photosensitive. I don't know. It might be that you have. I mean, I'm heat sensitive as well, but it might be that you have issues of heat. So the cold blankets and things like that will help. White noise seems to help me. So there's loads of options people have, and you just got to pick and choose and find what's going to work for you, I think.
yeah, I use a lot of red light bulbs. So like
Mm,
the lights I use in the evening are all red. I started that a long time ago. That was like one of the first tips I got, cut down on the blue light and use the red light. So I've had that and I think it does help. I mean, one of my issues in general is that I easily get overstimulated because I visually I get overstimulated, um, tactile sensations, noises, everything, and so I know everything for me is controlling my environment to uh lower those levels of excitement. So because if I can't go to sleep, that's usually what it is. Something's
mm.
got me excited, stimulated.
Yeah, I mean, probably sounds peculiar to people watching this. Like, how does that bother you? You got to think our senses tend to be heightened. So, what I know for myself is if I do a reaction speed test, my reaction speeds are usually about double what the next person would be.
Mm,
And I'm not Superman or anything, I'm not made of magic, but it does seem that everything around me is louder, brighter. Sensations feel rougher. I can't tolerate touching, fluffy blankets, anything like that. Any
mm.
sort of feathery feel I don't like. That's just me. But all autistic people are very different, and we'll have different things which just don't appeal to us. It's very hard to explain in a video, but it doesn't feel right. Like, it doesn't feel natural.
Right. Yeah, no, it's a big deal. I mean, the clothes I select, the sheets I sleep on, all that is like it's got to feel right. Whatever it is, like some things are too soft, some things are just, and I think part of it is a lot of us don't have that filter, so we can't start ignoring it like most people do. Like I've worked with people that can handle all kinds of background noise and conversation, and they're still focused and concentrating, and all that background noise is filtered out. And I don't. So I got earplugs, headphones, whatever I need. Same thing at the gym. I've been making jokes on Facebook about the power went out at the gym the other night, and I was like, finally the
Mm.
music stopped. So
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
One thing
So
for me that's changed on the carnivore diet is that I no longer need to wear earphones or headphones in, say, a cinema or in a noisy bar or anything like that.
mm,
People think, why'd you do that? Things are loud, honestly. And the thing is, it will elicit an impact on your body and it'll be psychosomatic. So your heart will go up, your senses will
hmm
pick up. It's almost
hmm
like everything becomes more. like everything's like rushing on you, like a imagine being like shook in a snow globe or something. That's the best way I can describe it.
Yeah, it's a
And
good analogy.
yeah, so when you're living in that little snow globe, that little glass bottle, you're really wrecked. And I've noticed that I don't need headphones anymore.
Mm,
That's been quite big on for me. Like my body's a lot calmer now, and I experience what I think they call it the carnivore zen. I mean, have you had that yet? Or
yeah.
mm,
Yeah, I it's less distressing for me for sure. So I do tolerate louder places much easier.
mm,
They're not, because it's not distressing. It's not that I can filter out all the noise, but the input isn't raising my excitement level or my anxiety level like it used to. So,
mm,
and it's interesting because you mentioned it raises your heart rate, right? And that was a trick for me in sleep, figuring out what was going on with the sleep quality, sleep the amount, same amount, but one night was better than the other. And it's pretty clearly that the faster your sleeping heart rate drops below your daytime resting heart rate, the better quality of the sleep. So if it goes down and stays down, and it's your nighttime resting heart rate is nice and low, you recover faster. And that seems to be facilitated quite nicely by carnivore.
completely. Yeah, and for me at least, staying cool, like let my body temperature get right down before bed.
Mm,
So I've been having like a few cubes of ice in my drink before bed, like a
mm,
glass of water, rather, and that's cooled my body down a little bit, and that's let me sleep better. And the same with if I have a hot shower, my body will then counteract that hot shower, the heat,
mm-hmm,
and make my core temperature colder. So when I actually go to sleep, I hit it and I'm out, sort of thing. So yeah, I've had some quite interesting experiences on this diet, and it's definitely amplified what I was already doing.
mm-hmm. Yeah, things become so much clearer, you know.
Mm,
I think because when you cut out so much of the irritating or the things that make you sick, and then this what you're left to focus on becomes so much clearer, you know.
mm,
And that is the elimination diet aspect of it, right? You're
yeah.
taking a lot of the things that generate a lot of noise out of the equation, and then you're able to focus on specific things. It's very clear when you ate too much fat or didn't eat enough, or you ate enough protein, didn't eat enough protein. You can
Mm,
focus on those fundamentals and not worry about the fact that that black pepper screwed up your stomach, you know.
yeah. Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? So before I wrap this up, what would be your one piece of key advice to a fellow autistic carnivore or someone about to start the diet?
Well, I try and preface everything by saying that I think it brings a higher quality of life to everybody because there's so much involved. I mean, where do you start? Oh, by the way, you're going to get rid of heartburn. Like, well, that's nice, but you probably sleep better. Oh, that's nice. But I mean, how it's so hard to explain all those details and how many anecdotes we've heard. I just try and sum it up like it's better quality of life. You probably be
Mm,
healthier. You probably need less medication. You spend less time in an anxious state, and you'll be able to engage and enjoy life and be in the moment and not be distressed by the overwhelming sort of inputs from your environment, right?
mm.
So I that's a great question, and I'm always kind of like, how do you best answer that, right?
My
Because
mind works the same.
you're
Mm,
in that niche where it's like autistic carnivores, really? Is that really a thing? And it's like, what does one possibly have to do with the other? Right. It seems so obscure. I get it. It seems really obscure um to people from the outside who are not familiar with either one so much.
mm,
It's hard to explain why they would come together, but clearly, I mean, you've seen the group. There's a lot of people in there, and there's a lot of people are willing to talk about how the great success they've had just by eating more meat and eating less of the
mm.
other stuff.
So Tom, how can people find this group?
Oh
It's on
yes.
Facebook, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's a Facebook group called Autistic Carnivores, just like it sounds. And then I have a Meat Mosaic group too, which is just kind of for people that are fans of the YouTube channel. It's like post the videos in there and talk to people, just kind of a little community thing. I have a bunch of other Facebook groups. some of them are just there for fun or whatever.
Mm.
So that's where I know a lot of people from. I just started making Facebook groups for different purposes, because
Yeah.
some people were keto and carnivore, and a lot of people came from keto to carnivore. So there's kind of a group for that. And then we used to make a joke that if the government's going to restrict our meat consumption, we should use a religious exemption. So we started the meat cult. So that's where carnivores go to church, mostly
Brilliant.
poke fun. But, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, what's the best way people to get hold of you if they want to?
Well, I'm on Facebook. I'm just Thomas Allen Clark, or you can message me, send me messages on YouTube. If you're watching one of the videos, you can post in there. I try and get back to everybody eventually. My if you go to Instagram, you can find Thomas Allen Clark on Instagram. My link tree's there. It's got all my social media links. You can find my videos. There's usually links to everything in my videos. So I got a YouTube channel like you do, called Meat Mosaic. So, and I'm pretty easy to find because I try and stay in touch with a lot of other carnivores. So I know a lot of the other people, and that's so. Like you said, you were just, autism and carnivore came up, and when you were talking to Sean Baker, and he, immediately associated that with me. So
Yeah.
he's been supportive of that because he has a kid that's autistic, so he's
Mm.
he's, he's kind of a young adult now. But so that was a cause close to his heart, and I think he was kind of glad that I did it because he's way too busy to start another to do something else. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's inspiring. I'm glad I've had the chance to have you on today and just go over what it is for someone that's an autistic carnival that's been doing it for quite a few years now. It's been very enlightening and educational, to be honest. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
well, and I've learned a lot from you too, mostly just from exchanging posts with you online and trying to make some time to watch some more of your videos. So um but that's
Mm.
the thing about having a community. Like we're always, I mean, whether it's behind the scenes stuff like we were talking about, recording videos and editing and all that stuff, help each other with that, but most importantly, help each other have a better quality of life, just
Mm.
by sharing our experiences and our experiments and
Yeah,
sometimes our mistakes.
I love that. Thanks
Yeah.
so much for coming on. Appreciate you.
Yeah, likewise. It was great meeting you, and I look forward to working with you some more.